Cool. All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of On Occasion with
Chris
and Canaan. And today we have, a very special guest.
Very, very special.
Someone that we really love a lot.
Genuinely.
She's one of our favorites. And that is
Christina Logan. Yeah. I didn't know if I was doing that. I also feel like, am I the only person that said yes? Is that just kidding.
so far, yeah.
Know,
so
yeah.
That's why you're a favorite.
Exactly.
You said
the bar
yes.
is low. Bar is low.
No,
So,
you're just our first guest. We wanted it to be special.
I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
And I was super honored. I even got a name drop in a previous episode.
You did.
It was
You
very
absolutely
flattering.
did. Yep.
And we only say names of people in episodes that we like. Otherwise, we leave everything anonymous.
Otherwise,
also
there's
feels
no
good.
names.
Yeah, we don't.
That also feels good. Yeah.
So
No,
Christina is a wedding planner here
Thank
in
you.
Nashville.
Yes, I didn't even say that.
No,
yes,
it's fine.
I'm a wedding planner here. And actually, one of the things you mentioned in an episode was how we met. So I met you, Chris.
I don't remember.
I
Sorry
do.
about that.
You should be. I met you when it was one of the Nashville. We have an amazing group here in Nashville. It's called the Nashville Wedding Planners Group, aptly named. And we get together and we meet other vendors and we network, and we really are just a support group for planners in the community. And you were at an event.
Was that the Fontanelle?
It was at the Fontanelle.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
thank
do
you. It was at
remember.
the Fontanelle, and I was actually pregnant with my second kid, and you took a
I took a photo of you and Paul
picture
together.
of me and my husband.
I do
'Cause
remember.
I don't know why spouses, partners were at that event, and you emailed it to me. So then I checked out your work, and I actually do love your work, and that's how we connected. Because as planners, we get solicited all the time.
Oh, this is
I've never even talked to you about
actually
that.
a
Yeah.
good topic. I have
That
not
is a
thought
good
about this angle before.
It is rough. And I try, so my company is actually legally it's called Christina Logan Design. And then one day my husband was like, this makes no sense. So it goes by Christina Logan Events. And so what was my point? Is
How
that
we met.
Well, photographers and
Being
soliciting.
solicited.
So yeah, it's just a constant influx of people emailing us all the time. And we don't have the time. But since my name is my brand, I try and be polite and respond personally to 99% of the emails. But some of them just end up going to junk because I just can't. Or I know it's spammy, or it's just they didn't even say my name or spell it right or whatever. But anyway, yes, no, I actually did truly love your work, and sometimes that happens. And so I actually connect with the person, and that's
so
how we
sweet.
connected.
Thanks, Christina.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah. Appreciate
I
it.
don't remember how we met, so it's okay.
I think it was you just
It might have
I think
been.
it was just along with him.
along
Well,
with him.
it may
I
have
think
been
so too.
Chris and Christina wedding. I think you shot that with me. Chris and
Christina. No.
Was that there? No, was it not?
Were you there?
Was it the
I've
Country
been
Music
on,
Hall of Fame?
3 weddings with us 3 together now.
Okay.
3 or 4 now.
But I know. I don't know when we met, but I know when we bonded.
Uh-oh.
It was at another. We also
Was Santa
go to
there?
a lot of free events that
Networking.
we get
Yeah,
invited
networking
to.
events, yeah.
Networking events. And we went to that bowling place.
Pinewood Social? No, Brooklyn Bowl.
Brooklyn Bowl.
Brooklyn
Thank
Bowl.
you. They were having this big opening, this big party, and it was so much fun. And I just brought a friend. I was like, who wants to come with me to this? So a girlfriend came, and then we all ended up hanging out
Yeah.
and just drinking a ton at cocktail hour time and chatting it up. And it was
Sounds alarmingly accurate
yeah,
for me.
yeah. That was our bonding session. That
Yeah.
was my first bond with Kate.
There it
That's
is.
awesome.
So that's a long story to how we
Yeah,
met.
no, it's great. And we wanted Christina to come on because we do want to do this episode on the importance of having a wedding planner or coordinator and how that'll just really help the flow of your day. And we've got lots of things to talk about it, but Christina's the expert. So would you like to, maybe you could share a little of how you got started in the industry, your background?
Yeah. And kind of the difference I think would be helpful
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
whomever's listening. Like even sometimes some photographers don't really know the difference between coordinator and planner. But
Important differences.
So I've been doing this for almost 13 years. I just realized that recently. But the impetus that what got me into this was I worked in an art gallery for a while, and then I managed a wine tasting room. And I handled all the small events. We of course had a vineyard, and across the street on the that property, we did weddings. I had nothing to do with the weddings, but my friend did. And she was the salesperson for there. And it was so much fun. I mean, they were always so gorgeous. This was this stunning property in Malibu. And
I was just going to ask, where were you during
yes,
this?
Malibu.
Yeah, Malibu.
So the views were just sensational. And I had nothing to do with it. So, but it looked fun. But then I realized at my job, I was like the no person at the tasting room. It was like, no, you can't bring in outside alcohol. No, you can't bring your dog. No, your kids have to have their shoes on. No, you belong.
We wouldn't have been friends in that life.
You guys, some people hated me. Hated me.
Oh yeah, you're the no person.
I know.
Especially knowing that, like, good times,
Yeah.
you know?
Right? Saying no to everybody. And that's when I was like, okay, I kind of wanted to get into weddings. And I was like, but I don't want to be the no person.
Yeah.
And the venue person is the no person. Most people don't like the venue person.
That's accurate.
That
Right?
don't like venue people?
Yeah, but yeah, we just recorded a venue episode.
Yeah,
and
before
that's
yeah.
part of it. That was a part of it.
Just
So
Challenges.
so I was like, I want to be the yes person. I want people to like me. I want to find the yes. And so that was kind of when I was like, I think I shouldn't find a venue to work at. I should, and plus it seemed more fun and a whole lot harder. Just we do this to ourselves, right? Where I could be the planner and take them to places and be the yes person or find the reasons why we can make yes work,
Right.
So anyway, that was kind of my segue in. And it was really hard at first, as you know, to start a business.
Did you start in California?
I started in California,
Oh,
and
okay.
then 2 years in, we moved here. So it was, I always say, I don't think I could have done it if I was moving the opposite. But Nashville was so welcoming and so wonderful, and the community and the support and it was okay. And it was easier almost. And I'd already kind of just done it, so it was okay. But now I could never do it again. I'm never starting it again.
Right. So
We move, I'm retired.
Looking back, you're like, that was like a meeting of moments there to start that versus like if you were to be like, as a mom now, this stage of my life, would not reattempt.
No.
Have you worked in California since you've been here? Have you gone back for any
At the
events?
beginning, I went back a few times, and then I have very, very seldomly taken in. I'm not one of those planners at this phase in my life that's like, I want to travel. Take me to this place or take me to that place. I'm more like, no, pay me here, and then I'll travel there with the money I made.
Right.
With my family or my husband or whatever, or my friends, even better. But leave the family behind. But, it's different because I do get a little envious. And actually, I think you guys kind of touched on this, the travel bit. It sounds fun to pop in for a weekend, but I'm doing it for a year and finding
planners.
all new vendors that I have to trust or somebody trusts. So it's not as respectfully simple
It's not.
as showing up and then doing your work. My work is in advance.
Right.
And then praying that these people I don't know actually pull through.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I actually think these weddings, when they're like, we went to Italy, I'm like, oh my God, for a planner, with the language barrier and the custom differences and hoping that they do it right. And then what do I do if they don't?
Right.
All that money so I have so much respect for these amazing planners to do that. In fact, I'll come as a second.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You do all the planning. I'll be your great assistant and I will follow through.
Yeah.
But, at this period of my life, also leaving the kids with, my husband travels a little bit for work, so it would just be tricky.
Gosh.
There's a planner we work with here in Nashville. She does mostly like corporate conference stuff, but like she travels 90% of the year. Carly. And she's here in Nashville, but I think I feel this number is completely based off of just random conversations with her, but she's gone like over half of the year.
Wow.
Like she's barely here in Nashville. She does so much destination just around the country and everywhere. And I'm always like, I can't imagine having to run that schedule. Cause it's like, you're constantly dealing with all these other vendors in other cities that you have no control over. You're barely able to vet their, I can't imagine what that is like, trying to like, not only the logistics, but then vet people's work and reliability in other cities.
Well, and a lot of companies, like big companies, like I actually have a friend here who works for a high-end company that I have no clue what the company does anymore. But the point is, she does their events. So they'll go to something in Florida and she does it all for them. So she does all their events at all the different places.
Man.
Yeah.
So she's like and she has a team, but she's their in-house person. And so at least the client's the same, I guess. So that's the expectations.
The expectations, right?
Yeah. But and there's probably at some point a little bit of a formula and that they want the same things each time. But it's different cities a lot, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, obviously she does some of their stuff here too.
Yeah.
So.
But agreed. Yeah, I think like once you start having kids, I feel like I imagine it's even more so as a mom versus being a dad. Like the ability to like make just as much or more staying home or being able to like go home every night on the job, way more advantageous. I actually just talked about Austin Grow here. We talked about this at a wedding recently where he was like, because I had been teasing him because he was like posting all these. He had been to New York and then he's just in NOLA, and I was like giving him crap over Instagram. And he was like, he's like, if I can make just as much or more, I prefer that. He's like, I don't actually try to do destination. Because he's like, I got 4 kids. He's like, he goes, when I do go, he's like, I'm in 36 hours, I'm out. He's like trying to get home. It's just too much to do both at this point.
Yeah. I hear that.
And make it like luxury. You know what I mean? Where like people are like, I'm going for 3 days before and then I'm staying for a week after just for a little rest and relaxation to recoup, you know? I'm like, well, what life are you living?
Did you just spend your whole check on that? I don't know. Yeah.
Unreal. Totally. But if you can do it, you know, no problem. That's great.
Well, when I was single for a long time, it was awesome. But now with you, being married, kid, I love waking up in Nashville and going to bed in Nashville. Yeah. It's the best.
Yeah.
So. But even saying that, like, I'm still marketing to places in Savannah, Hilton.
Yeah. All that to say, if you want to hire us to go to exotic places, we still would like to go sometimes.
100%.
Don't turn this episode off. Though you mentioned like going to Italy, I would be very hesitant in taking international contracts at this point. After being thrown out of Canada for trying to photograph a wedding in Toronto, I get too nervous. I sweat anytime I go through customs now. Even on tourist visits, I'm like, I'm sweating. Can't do it.
I think Canada's like an exception, though. Like
that was such a strange.
I've never heard of anyone else getting kicked out of a country for.
When I photographed the wedding in the Dominican, I was just, just profusely sweating bullets going through customs, you know.
And that was a way better wedding than what you were going to shoot in Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. So. But
what a trip.
Okay, so wait, can you tell us the difference between coordination?
Coordination
and planning?
This is going to happen a lot, I feel like, on this episode.
I'll bring us back. It's fine. You'll do your thing.
So planning. It's all what it sounds like it is. I mean, it's very, very obvious. Very, very obvious. So planning is when we help you. So essentially not most planners, I apologize. Some planners have different levels of service, okay? So the planning means we are helping you plan. We are involved in the decision-making process. We are finding your vendors. We are looking at the contracts. We are telling you when to pay them, how much to pay them, how much things have changed, and why they've changed. So because I think it goes without saying, some vendors are static. Like typically your photographer, you know how much it's going to cost. That's what it costs.
Yeah.
Unless after you decide to add on albums or whatever. But the point is rentals, florals, food, bar, and so forth, change with your guest count. So that's what I mean so we help you along with all those things. Okay. So whether it's full planning, meaning start to finish, or partial planning, meaning some just help with design vendors, something like that, or that's all planning. Coordination is when we coordinate what you have planned. So,
I know this, but yeah.
So the client books and selects all their vendors. Hopefully we're guiding you along the way. Like we give you a referral list. We want you to ask us who to book, not only because obviously it looks all good on all of us if we gave you a referral, but we can vouch for their service. We can not guarantee, but we are increasing the odds that everything is going to be smooth.
Yeah.
So with coordination, we are not making you or helping you make those choices, though. We're not even looking at the contracts. I do ask for them so I can keep them on file. Essentially, so I can be like, how many hours did they hire you for? What did you agree to with the bar service? Things like that. But not because I'm going to change anything. because I'm not being paid to. I am just going to.
It is key.
At the correct timing, we do a site visit. I help with the layout and timeline, essentially. And I make sure nothing's going to fall through the cracks, like you're not missing a vendor or you're not missing something big. So that's the coordinators are like a must-have base minimum survival mode.
Yeah.
And we're saving your mom, your aunts, your siblings that don't want to help at all.
And you yourself as the bride.
You as the bride. Yeah. The photographer. We're saving I always hear that if there's no coordinator, it falls to the photographer and the caterer.
This is true.
Become the coordinator. Because, and they're, do y'all ever talk once at a wedding normally? Probably not ever.
Who?
The photographer and the caterer.
The caterer?
No, I've never talked to the caterer.
Never.
No.
So the two of you to become like a whole, it just makes no sense.
Yeah.
I did do that one time, though.
You did what?
Planned a wedding.
You
coordinated a wedding.
How did it work?
So I had, it was a really beautiful Indian wedding. Gorgeous wedding.
Let me guess. It was over $100,000?
It was a very nice wedding. I don't know what the end budget was.
Didn't want to they couldn't afford to hire a coordinator. Go on.
Yeah. So what I won't, just because I'm still friends with this couple, but so I won't name like the location or anything. But what ended up happening was the venue was supposed to have like a day of coordinator set up for them that they had been working
I want to come back to this point.
This is because this matters a lot. And I feel like this happens quite a bit. Venue coordinator did jack all. In fact, messed up several things. Then panicked and disappeared. Similar to the church lady I was talking about earlier. So just kind of up and poof, was gone.
Would you say like she scuttled away?
I would say this individual, won't name gender either.
He just said scuttled so many times in our last episode.
Scuttled away, did not see them.
Good work.
Saw them again when it was time for dinner service. That was the next time we saw them. The missed ceremony, everything. Anyway, so basically there was like, and then no one was stepping up to be like, okay, let's do this next. Okay, timeline says this. Let's do this. Long story short, we made an extra few $1,000s on this wedding because me and my team ended up coordinating the rest of the day.
So did you end up saying like mid-wedding, like, I'm going to charge you at the end of this because I'm doing this? Obviously. So how did you even get paid more money?
It was literally after the wedding, they just like sent us another check because we stepped up to the plate and took care of business.
That's thoughtful.
Wedding turned out gorgeous. Like the photos were fantastic. Like, I don't know if it was like the pressure that we were all under to be like, holy shit, we're doing both. And then we just nailed everything. But like, wedding went really smooth on the coordination side. So props to me because I'm a chaos monster. So I don't know how that happened. But that worked out really well. And then, the photos were really proud of that wedding. Anyway, but I would say that if it were to happen again, though, I would probably say no at this stage because it's so stressful. Not only just doing both, but just like trying to coordinate a day when you're not prepared to coordinate a day is a effing nightmare.
Which, leads us to why day of coordination doesn't exist. Because you can't show up on the day and nail it.
No, you cannot.
Do people ask you or people reaching out like, hey, are you a day of coordinator?
Yeah. In fact, I have it all of us do. Well, not all of us do. If you still have that, please delete it now. And for those of you who say, oh, you should hire a day of coordinator, please never suggest that. They need, we call it coordinators, event managers, event directors, minimum month of coordinator. I don't even like putting a name of a period of time because I personally have my first meeting a few months out.
Yeah.
For coordination? Okay.
Only it's a selfish move, to be totally honest, because if I'm too busy that month, like I'm not meeting you 5 weeks before your wedding if I'm slammed with a different event.
Right.
So it gives me flex time. The point is, though, nobody can show up on the day of, except for Canaan, and nail it. And just get all the things right. It's just impossible. And it devalues us. So like when we actually charge for how many hours we know we put into an event management, they're like, for one day. And I'm like, wait a second, you paid like 4 times that amount for your photographer. And And
no.
Oh shit!
You get my point. No, you get my point though. But they just think that you're not worth it.
Yeah.
And to your question, just yesterday, I couldn't believe it. I am very clear on my website, like what I offer. And I offer blah, blah, blah. I offer event management and full planning. And I have a drop-down menu, like, what are you inquiring about? And she fills out other, and she goes, I want, and then in caps, day of only. Do you have this? And I'm like, well, no. That's why it's not enough. And if she read anything on my website, I even call it out under event management services. So I'm like, not only did you not even read my website, you know, and those people, for most planners, they're just like bottom line brides, right?
Right.
Well,
which I respect. Like everybody has a budget at some point, but
I also think that from my perspective as a photographer, I think a lot of the inquiries I get are from brides who they just know they need a photographer. And so they search and they find like 10 photographers they like, and they just send us all the same information. And so they're not really reading or researching a lot. It's just kind of who's going to get back fastest and who fits the budget.
And who's cheapest. Yeah. I don't care about you.
So that might be the same. Like she might have reached out 10 planners at the same time and just like.
Yeah. But so anyway, so that kind of answers the differences in services and then why as a I don't know, let's just say industry, as a planner union, we would like everybody to
15-minute smoke breaks.
Those words.
Those are, hey, I'd use those.
Oh, yeah. They're important a couple times during the day.
Oh.
No? Okay.
Christina's too clean. She's not going to do any of that.
No, well, drink in the morning.
She'll drink in the morning, but not.
If you're from California and you smoke a cigarette, you just light on fire. That's what you burn up immediately.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. We also recycle there.
Well, no, not in Nashville.
Not in Tennessee.
I was just in San Diego, and I had this guy. I was shooting, and then one of the guests like comes up to me with trash, and he goes, "Do you know where the recycling is?" And I was like, "I'm like nowhere near a trash can. Like I'm just like standing there taking photos. I'm like, no, dude." I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's something around here somewhere.
I'm sorry.
And he goes, well, I got to find it because I'm a big recycler. And he goes, I'm from Santa Clara. And I go, oh okay. I was like, what?
It's very serious. It's very serious, you guys. And when I moved here, I had a hard time with it.
Yeah.
I will never forget this one conversation with someone who is this other mom, and essentially she almost spit on recycling. And I was like, I'm so uncomfortable.
I get it.
Because I don't like confrontation with people I don't know that well. And I'm like,
especially about recycling. It's very heated. It actually can be a heated subject.
I'm like, it can be heated if you're from California. I'm just not strong enough to have nor am I like a researcher enough to have like the facts behind me.
When I first moved here, I moved here from Decatur, Georgia. In Decatur, you have to pay per trash bag. So everyone recycles in Decatur. Because the more you recycle, the less your trash service costs.
Oh, okay. That's
a strategic way to kind of.
So when I moved here, I paid the extra for I had the trash can at the street and the recycling bin, but no one else is doing it. Eventually, I just you become like your friends, and so
I go to the recycle center.
See, there's that.
You were a good person.
I know. We sort and everything. It's awful.
It's awful. Well, there's not. Yeah, in your defense and to your point, there's not a good system in Nashville for 100%. Recycling. It's not convenient. Mm-hmm. They almost set it up in a way to be like, don't do this.
Right.
And so, like, I think the reason a lot of people
do.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like, don't do it. And then I heard that like they take it out of the same waste management distribution place.
That's what I heard.
And it all goes.
Half of it ends up in there. Anyway.
Yeah, like they don't even cycle it properly. So then it's like
a great plastic pile in the Pacific.
Waste management. I know it's like if it's anything like New York, it's connected to the mob.
Listening.
I don't want to die. So no problem with the way you do things.
He gets on these random things and he's just like, everybody that's watching right now. We want to talk about waste management.
Also, my FBI guy, if you're listening.
From middle school.
Really apologize for my internet searches earlier this morning.
Oh my God, this morning.
Political division in South America.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't, we're not going like OnlyFans on this. I'm just saying.
I didn't know where we were headed. Could have gone anywhere.
We're all caught up.
There's my FBI guy. He's probably scared of my search history.
You don't like me talking about your FBI guy, but I like bringing him up occasionally. But maybe not now. I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I like that you have one in general. Most people.
It's from middle school.
Well, I got him. I got my FBI guy when I was 14. It's a story we can tell off air. I can't tell it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the FBI guy, he's real.
What are we doing? Oh, when's a good time? When's the ideal time for a couple to reach out to you in regards to planning or coordination?
Great question. Planning. Please don't do it 2 years out. Anything under 2 years, we'll take you.
We have photography. We have people book photography 24 months in advance.
Bananas. That's what I'm saying. Like I hate when that happens, to be honest, because then I'm like, okay, what about next year? I still need more for next year. Right. So anyway,
That's true.
But it is nice to know something's down the pipeline. Yeah, typically shy of 2 years. I would say like a year and a half is understandable because for full planning, for example. Excuse me, I'm only talking about planning right now.
Yeah.
Because, seasonally speaking, I get it. I remember when I got engaged, when I wanted to get engaged to my husband, I was like, just so you know, I plan on getting married in the summer.
This is what you told him. Okay.
And I need at minimum 12 months. I should have said 13 to get where I want to be at the right date.
Wait,
I am
what's happening in that extra 1 month that's going to be helpful?
Yeah, why 13?
Because if you get engaged, it's not like tomorrow I'm looking at the venue.
So you need 4 weeks to kind of get into gear.
Just kind of like
to just be
process,
like, I'm engaged. I'm going to piddle around with venues because I
okay.
actually stupidly didn't search in advance. So anyway, and all of a sudden I was
piddling.
Like, yeah. So anyway, that's kind of your time frame for full planning. Down to like, I got 6 months, we can still do full planning.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what's your cap on a short
The shortest
turnaround?
I've ever done is 4 months.
That seems
full plan.
bad. I mean, not bad. Yeah. That seems challenging.
It is a little challenging, except for I actually love it if I have the time because it's like a boom, boom,
boom. You
gotta
be decisive.
Look at this. You like that? I'm booking it.
Yeah.
Look
You're
at
knocking
this.
It out. Sure.
Oh my God, it feels so good. It's like check mark, check mark, check. You know what I mean? Planners are all about the check marks.
I don't know what you mean by that. But
I never want to have to make check
marks. It feels so good.
That means there's a list.
If there's a list of things to check off, I'm having a panic attack.
No, I love lists.
Yeah.
I love lists. Anyway, so that's your planning timelines. Coordination. We really don't like you when you're pulling us over 13 months to 12 months out because you're booking a date that we potentially could have a planning client on.
Yeah.
And so some are skeptical or won't even take it. So honestly, in that 9 month and under are fine. Not fine. Thank you. We still appreciate you. But it's not as annoying.
Okay.
So
what about we're in the process? Like, I just got engaged. Should I book a venue, then come to you? Like, what?
Yeah, what comes first?
Actually, this was super interesting on something you guys said the other episode. I can't remember specifically what you said. But
I don't remember either. It's
who is booked first and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So the best for a planner, which is full planner, is when they're like, I have the venue. Now I'm booking the planner. You're like, great, I don't have to find the venue.
Yeah.
Because that's the hardest part. It's hard.
The venue's the hardest part?
Oh my gosh, yes. Huh. Because of
all. Not a thought about that.
And it really depends on the client, on their particularities, right? How much they're like, we want a garden in downtown next to this so that our guests can walk there to everything. You're like, that just doesn't exist, right?
Right.
So it's hard.
Not in Nashville.
No. So yes, this is where we're in Nashville. So I'm talking about here first. So if they come with a venue, you're like, whew, awesome.
Nice.
However, I also don't mind venue searching. It is kind of fun, right? Finding that right fit. So the beginning, hiring us first or at minimum second is great. But it is hard when they come half the time. I feel like they get a photographer before they do anything else. Or right after the venue. If they specifically want a certain photographer, they book them immediately.
Yeah.
And so that's why a lot of planners actually don't. Half the time I'll say I can refer a photographer. Easily half the time it's already done.
Yeah.
And I had nothing to do with it.
I actually hear this a lot from planners and planners in general, planners, designers, where that's like one of the first things that's booked is specifically to your point, if the bride is like, they know exactly who they want.
Yeah.
They're making sure that person's date's available, trying to lock that person in for photography.
Yeah. And the reason why it's a problem sometimes, not always, but sometimes, is because they overspend on the photographer. And I mean, it's their money. You spend it how you want it. But on occasion, and to be fair, actually, this was...
Hey, brand
buzzword.
drop. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I would have been saying that more. I should have. So on occasion, and this happened more when I was, years ago when I was starting out and I had lower budgets, still applicable to everybody. I'd be like, okay, but now we got to like trim everywhere else because you can't afford.
Because they still have the big vision for other vendors, but yeah.
And this just happened to me on Monday where I had a full planning. We had a call last week and it went great, me and the mom. And I fit into their budget and they already booked the photographer and I know how much she costs. And they already booked the videographer and I know how much that costs. And then she essentially nixed me. Because,
brutal.
Because the other planner that they liked just as much was less, and she wasn't concerned about them going over budget. I'm like, okay,
cool,
yeah. But so that's already to the point. Like, you had no qualms booking these particular, and I get it. They're the ones after the fact that you get to keep the memories, and that's so powerful. But if the day is a shit show, you only learn that lesson after the fact.
After the fact
is the problem.
Exactly. I think that's interesting because you have like, I think this goes back to even our previous episode talking about venues. Is like if you spend so much on a certain vendor and then that kills your budget for the rest of the stuff. Like if you spend all your money on this like top-notch photographer that's got like all great aesthetic, blah blah blah, their work's fantastic, but then you don't have a budget to create a fantastic aesthetic to be captured.
Right.
Your photographer is just going to be able to capture what exists at your wedding. Like they can't
you got
create
your mason
something
jars
that doesn't
and
exist.
some burlap around them, and
so
Absolutely.
like to that point, internet, check budgets because there's some fantastic photographers for not that much money, and then you can spend some more on a planner, flowers, stylized soft seating sections that can be photographed gorgeously.
I don't know. Petting zoo.
That'd
be fun.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Guest experience.
A great guest experience. Yeah. You said you said it. I was listing things. She said exactly in one thing.
We had the bouncy house at my wedding.
And it collapsed.
It did collapse. That was awesome.
Oh my God, how many people were in it? Too many.
A dozen.
Too many is the answer.
No, there's like a dozen.
Okay, full dozen. Yeah, it was pretty fun. I think they liked that it collapsed, so they had fun falling over.
Enough drinks had been had at that point that added to the
the experience.
Guest experience.
Yes.
I love that you were able to succinctly say, guest experience.
Can I share for a second or I'd like to share for a second, maybe a full minute if I can take that much time, on what I think it's like for a bride. I want to speak as a married man on what it's like for a woman getting married without a planner or coordinator.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm at the point now, my price point is that, you want to say something?
I was going to say something, but...
did I?
No, I was going to say...
Wait.
Didn't you have somebody help?
My wedding?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I just want to talk about what... it was like before, when I was a photographer before having.
Oh.
Yeah. I think the price point that I'm at now is brides that are hiring me, they're getting a coordinator or planner for sure. It's also in my contract. Like,
same.
There has to be.
Same.
Love that.
But before I hit whatever price point is, which I think my experience in photography, brides who are spending less than $3,000 on photography are oftentimes going in lieu of hiring a planner coordinator. They're just
100%.
They're getting their aunt or uncle, not an uncle, probably not an uncle. Could be.
Hopefully not an uncle.
They're
often drunk.
Depends.
Yeah.
Depends.
But this is what happens when you don't have a planner or coordinator: is you answer questions all day long as the bride.
Yeah.
And so people are like, "Where do you want this? Or where do you want the seating chart? Or where do you want these flowers? Or exactly." And so as a bride, you're not experiencing your day. You're having to manage the day.
Yeah.
And for me as a photographer, that's also just stealing so much time for photos because you're like stressed and you're having to answer these questions. And I just want let's just chill out.
Yeah.
Let's go take some photos.
But
that can't happen without a planner coordinator.
My favorite thing in the morning to say to the brides when she's like, "What do I have to do?" I'm like, "Sit."
Yeah.
And same to the mom, actually. I get almost more joy telling the mom because the mom will be like, "What do I have to do?" And I'm like, nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Be here. Help her with her dress when she needs it. You know what I mean? Just like be in that moment. That is our job, is to help the client, be in the moment. I mean, my wedding day was like the best day ever.
I was going to ask this because were you planning before you got married?
I had planned one wedding at that point. So I didn't have my business formal yet.
Right.
But the wheels were turning. It was in the process of happening. I had left that job because I was already working all week, so it was I couldn't take a job that was on weekends when I was already working every weekend at the tasting room. And so I got this horrible job. So that was Monday through Friday. It was awful.
You're like selling car batteries or what?
No, it was like a executive assistant in accounting, whatever. And I wanted to kill myself.
Right. I feel like that's our industry. Everyone who works in our industry is like, ooh. A 9 to 5.
Oh, it was so bad.
We'll work
it's so bad.
like in May. We'll work like 120 hours a week and be happy about it. But like as soon as you mention like, why don't you just work 8 hours a day, 9 to 5,
reasonably?
Blah, blah, blah.
Someone tell me what to do,
and we're like,
I want a lunch break.
You son of a! We're like freaking out about it. And I'm like, everyone else is like, this is a very reasonable lifestyle. And we're like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, exactly. That's how
Consistency, never.
Yeah, knowing a paycheck's coming. I hate that.
Worst.
I hate money.
But no, that was the question. Is like, how was now from your side, like doing this for 13 years? Oh, sorry, we got it.
No, we did. We stole from Chris.
We stole from Chris.
No, that was a great.
Stop speaking over me,
I'm
Canaan.
sorry,
No,
dude.
I think it was me who did it that time.
You're allowed to. It's fine.
Okay, thanks.
I didn't have anything else to say.
Oh,
No, but I thought that was such a good point. Seeing the bride with planner versus without.
Yeah, they're just so stressed. So
Yeah.
that's my experience.
And I actually feel guilty when I have to ask the bride a question, which is why I'm so adamant about. I had this wedding. Okay, one of my first weddings. Oh God, this bride. She still lives in my nightmares. She she was so bad that her parents actually came up to me and were like, "We are sorry. We don't know what year in her life she became essentially like a brat."
wow.
But not a brat.
Yeah, a different B word.
A different brat. And we are
brat?
so sorry she's treating you like this because she was hammered and just rude to me all day on the wedding. But anyway, the point is the day before she didn't have her shit together. And so I'm very adamant about, the day before the wedding or earlier in the week.
Yeah.
I meet with the client. I get all their things. I mean, I write it down. I open a box. From working in an art gallery, my gallery owner used to have a thing she would say. She goes, it doesn't exist unless you can touch it. Because you can't sell art if it's not there. And you can't be like, isn't that like in our storage right there? It's right there. I know it is. She's like, it doesn't exist unless you touch it. And which was brilliant because sometimes you'd be like, oh my gosh, that's at a different
art.
Yeah, it's somewhere else, or I sold or something happened.
Right.
So same thing for me with wedding day. Like it doesn't exist unless I touch it and I take it from you. So some people are like, okay, I'll get it to that day. I'm like, no. I need it before the wedding because then it's my responsibility. Because what am I going to do? It turns out it's not in the box on the wedding day and it's 1 p.m. and who's going to go get it?
Right.
So
it's going to be a groomsman and they're not going to make it back for photos and then we're 30 minutes behind.
So the day before this bride's wedding, she hadn't wrapped any of her bridesmaids' gifts. And there was like 13. Oh, and this was back in California. And so my assistant and I, who were at the rehearsal for our meeting to go over all of her stuff, we start wrapping the presents because it felt like, and now I would never do that. Sorry, brides. I just wouldn't. But at the time, you're trying to just please everybody. And I was still newer and everything. And then we had to literally race off to the church for the actual rehearsal. And then she was straight to dinner. So I never saw her stuff in her hotel room. Never. I didn't know what was anything. I didn't know where it was in. And so I had to ask questions on the wedding day. And then sure enough, like the cake knife comes about. And I'm like, oh my God, where's the cake knife? And I have to go and ask her. And the look she gave me in her drunken state.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. This is when the parents apologized. It was just like, so you just, I don't know, just people and we just try and be as prepared as possible in advance so we don't have to bug you on the wedding day.
Yeah.
Not because we think you're going to be a bitch about it, but you might be. And
you really might be. Yeah, that's true.
But it also looks like we don't have our stuff together. We don't know what we're doing. You know, I hate asking questions on the wedding day. So that's why I really, as much as brides get annoyed, they'll be like, oh, well, I'm running late for this. I'm like, then I'll wait because this is more important to me than you being at your cocktail hour on time. It just is.
Yeah.
I have 2 questions I try to ask on wedding days, and that's it. After that, I don't want to ask any more questions.
Where's the questions?
Where's your wedding dress, and where's like your shoes, jewelry, sentimental stuff? Like as soon as I get there, I want to know where that is.
Like a flat lay?
Yeah, like when I show up, I just want to know where that stuff is, and after that, I don't want to ask questions anymore.
Yeah. Okay, segueing on, I want to talk about, because that makes me think of the photo planner relationship on the day of, because I would like to know what you think are some of our responsibilities in terms of helping y'all, not like we know our responsibilities outside of you guys. But for example, about, I don't know, in the last 2 years, I had this big wedding, but I was just a coordination, wedding management. I had my shit together. I knew what I was doing. I had all my things. This photographer who I did not like from the start, because I was like, the first time I emailed her, I wanted to have a call, and I'm pretty quick on the call. I'm efficient. But sometimes, especially if I haven't worked with you before, I like to talk about it. She refused to have a call with me and then said, you can see my timeline. Like she emailed me some things, but it took like a whole week to hear back, all that sort of stuff. And so I was like, okay, I'm happy to go along with your schedule, blah, 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 blah. So I fit it into my schedule and we ham and egg it, and it works out fine. Well, we show up on the wedding day, and this was Country Music Hall of Fame, and they're over Rachel was there. Rachel's our mutual friend of ours. And this was they were at the Omni, which is a hotel that's attached to, not connected, like as in they don't work together, but physically one large building. The Omni is a hotel that's just connected to the Country Music Hall of Fame. So a lot of people who get married at this Country Music Hall of Fame stay overnight at the Omni. And it's huge. And there's like, it's like up a lot of elevators and elevators that don't make sense. You need badges for this. And then you got to walk floors for that.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And of course, this is the photographer's first time there, because I think she was like in Kentucky or something. She's out of state.
Trying to understand.
She had beautiful photos on her website. Her work's great. I also wouldn't know because I never saw the wedding photos.
Oh,
okay, but that's the end of the story.
That's one of those things too.
We'll the point is she's calling me while I'm setting up, and she's at the hotel room, and I'm here setting up, and she goes, well, I need the guys. And I said, okay, they're in hotel room X, whatever. So then she's like, okay, will you bring them over to the Skirmerhorn, which is a couple blocks away?
What?
And set them up there? And I was like, no. What? No.
Did she have a second photographer?
She had a second photographer. She had a second shooter. She did not have an assistant, because some photographers come with a first, a second, an assistant. Anyway, the point is, no, she did not. Excuse me. Yes, she had the second. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm setting up whatever.
Because that would normally be the job of a second.
And she goes, well, where am I supposed to go at the Skirmerhorn? And I'm like, you're the photographer. I don't know where you want to go with them. And she's like, well, how do I get in the courtyard? I'm like,
wow.
You guys, the Skirmerhorn, not only is it a symphony center, it is also a separate venue. And you can't just like it's locked. And so she's putting all this on me. And I'm like, I had 2 girls helping me that day.
Abby?
Yes.
Love Abby.
And yes, we love Abby. And then another person who it was her first time helping me. And she has a full-time job. She just was like, I needed hands, and she'd always wanted to help. So I sent her, because I'm like, well, it's just groomsmen or whatever. And eventually I'm like, you have to come back now. Like, I actually need you here. And so fast forward to the photographer is pissed at me. Like, won't even look at me in the face.
Really?
It's to the point where it got so awkward that I come up to her and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry if I'm not doing what you think I'm supposed to be doing, but in general, I don't help the photographer with their really anything.
Yeah.
Like, unless I'm I always am with you on timelines, like, hey, we gotta like move on
pretty
here.
much. I don't really need the interaction with the planner on the wedding day, except for maybe like if hair and makeup's running behind. It's like, hey, I don't want to be. I just don't want to be the bad guy.
No, be the bad guy. Well, be the bad guy to like talk to the planner.
Yeah,
so you can
I just don't want to be the bad guy.
Yeah. But so, and she like, well, normally that's what the planner helps with, and I said,
I've never seen that.
I've never had that experience.
Thank you, because I honestly. I mean, I'm like in shock. And just by the way she's treating me as ugly all day. Mm-hmm. And then she missed a huge moment later, which I shit you not, you guys. I take out my cell phone and I start taking photos.
What?
Because I'm like, how are we going to, I can't have them completely miss this. And if we'd had a phone call, I would have talked about it. It was on my, it was only partially on my timeline because it was a secret to the bride.
Okay.
So, I mean, I said where we would be, but the photographer missed it. So anyway, so I think that's part. So fast forward to, I never got the photos. I in part think it was, I think it was in twofold. One, the client was actually, the mom was kind of crazy.
Oh, fun.
God bless.
Love those.
But so, and then the photographer didn't like me. So I think cohesively, they just never. Well, the photographer, sure enough, just didn't want me to have the photos.
I know that's a strange one because I always make sure for the venue I've never shot at, I show up early. Like when we were in Hilton Head a few weeks ago, we went a day ahead of time and just spent like an hour just walking around to get some bearings, making notes. I don't want to be lost on a wedding day.
No, it was yeah, and like. How huge is that place and all those places I said? So it was just, and that's when I'm like, you bring the assistant. You're getting, like, trust me, she did fine on this wedding, or factor it in or whatever if you think you need it.
So what your question is, how do we, from a photographer perspective, work with the planner?
Mm-hmm. And your expectations of us?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Details works with, we're kind of like all over the place. We do a handful of luxury. Most of our weddings are kind of like mid upper level in terms of like budgets.
Yeah.
But we shoot the gamut. Like I have associates who are shooting like more budget friendly stuff. So we're kind of all over the place. So we work with a wide variety of planners, coordinators. We're kind of wide in that network. I would say my expectation is generally I leave it to the planner. Like if they reach out and they're like, hey, can we jump on a call? Can we jump on a Zoom? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. For me, I want to know the more details for me, the better. Because if I have the logistics and I have the layout and I know what's going on, I feel prepared going into the day to meet expectations. Yeah. But I also like the way we do business is like we collaborate with all the vendors. So it's like the florist is getting a gallery for florals. The planner gets the photos after a wedding.
So thoughtful.
Like all of those things. Because like for us, it's good for business.
Oh,
like
it's so good for business.
And typically, if you're listening and you're like, I never got my gallery. I'd be like, it's probably because I thought I sent it to you and I haven't. So just, it actually happened real recently. That's why I'm putting that out there.
Oopsie.
Yeah, I had a wedding from last year where some friends of ours, she's like, hey, could I get the gallery? I was like, what are you talking about? I sent that the week of. And she's like, I never got it. I was like, why didn't you say anything?
Yeah. Sometimes that happens. But sometimes photographers don't even think.
No, it's on our list. We have a list of all the vendors.
I didn't think about it my first few years in photography. I just wasn't aware that like the photos I'm taking are also what's helping build the business of other vendors. I just didn't know.
But it also, especially today when we share everything triple fold, it's good for your business.
Yeah. Oh, it certainly is.
Yeah. Like the reposting and the sharing and the tagging and especially just for your planners, you're like, oh, thank you. Someone sent me. Like every planner loves it. Photographers who are listening. Don't forget them because people I work with all the time, I still have to ask. And I'm like, oh, cool. The bride sent me this.
Right.
Which is wonderful. Thanks, bride. But why is I not in it from the start, especially if I hired you.
Right.
Oh, wow.
That's
a big one.
That is confusing.
Yeah. Like I hired you.
Yeah. As far as like our expectation though, like really it's just the timeline. Like for the planner, I want to stay out of their way typically because I know they're scrambling around trying to set stuff up for the day. So unless the planner needs me or is giving me an update, I don't really talk to them unless there's a break or unless I need information.
Totally.
So like,
same.
Like I don't have any expectation on the planner to like gather certain people or bring me someone or whatever. I like kind of rely on them on logistical information. That's it.
What about keeping you guys on time?
I don't need that. I really don't. I'm just so focused that I'm just driving the day forward anyways.
But you're focused. So we just worked together a couple weeks ago, and I'd be like, okay, Chris, how many minutes do you need? He's like, I think like 15. I was like, okay, so 15 minutes. I'm like, hey, it's been 15. He's like, okay, just like 5 more minutes.
Oh, I was gonna say,
like 8 or 9, and then I'm like, Chris.
That's true. I need somebody to maybe keep me accountable because I just want to keep taking photos. So that's fine. I hear that.
And I'm on the opposite. Because like I'm typically like boom, 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 we're wrapped up. Couple can take a break. And we're on. We're like I'm like usually earlier on time if I can make it work in the time.
Yeah.
Because like I'm like my vibe is typically like, I don't know, we took some cool photos. Let's hang out now.
It's been a good day, huh? Like, you guys want to order pizza? And you do. You order pizza sometimes.
I order pizza. I'm like, cool. I'll like send my second back. Go down to the liquor store, get 2 bottles of this, bring some ice back. We're going to hang out with the bridal party.
It's so true.
And it's like, that's how I roll. Like,
it feeds into your networking because you're feeding like you're feeding everybody, the staff.
I'll order. Like I remember one time with Dawn with Premiere. She's recently sold, but like I remember one time we had a wedding and something happened in the timeline where we had like an hour where we were waiting, like photos were done. Something happened.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting at some cathedral near Vanderbilt, and we're like up in the balcony, and Mellow Mushroom was like right around the corner, and so I was like, Dawn, do you want pizza? And she goes, oh my God, I would freaking kill for some pizza right now. So we ordered Mellow Mushroom, and I think I will sometimes like pack a bottle of wine with me. I think I had
a bottle of wine to a wedding?
Yeah. So
that's amazing.
So me and Dawn like sat up in the balcony of this church, ate a Mellow Mushroom pizza, drank some wine, and then the ceremony happened.
Are you like rolling your own cigarettes too? Are you that classy?
Occasionally, if I want to. Yeah. But like, I'm just. Yeah, that I want the whole day to be like that as much as possible. Where it's just like if I can get ahead of schedule, where I'm like I feel good about the photos. Couple wants to take a break. I'm like, cool. I'm gonna go eat some pizza and drink some wine and hang out with the planner for a while.
Okay, I'm gonna try to bring us back a little bit. Okay. What else would you like to tell brides that we haven't gone over as far as
we're also photographers? What else?
Brides are photographers in regards to help. I didn't know how to finish my question.
I think that the one other thing another PSA for photographers.
We'll bring a rainbow
on behalf of planners is we know you're going to want dinner. We will feed you. Please stop asking us about it.
You talking to photographers? Okay.
The photographers are the neediest eaters we've ever come across.
I will concur. I hear this a lot.
I mean, sometimes I'll get asked like 4 times by a photographer, and I'll address it. It is the first thing. Like, I shit you not, when I email you, and I'm like, hey, it's, we're X month away, like I want to talk about the timeline a little bit, blah, blah, blah. Also, do you or your second shooter have any food aversions? Like, it's in my first email now.
Yeah.
Because if I don't put it in my first email, I get it 50 times. And then also and then I put it in the timeline, if anyone actually reads the timelines I make. And then I try and address it earlier to be like, hey, your food is going to be ready at this time and it will come to you. Please don't sit at a guest table and try and eat with that.
Oh, do people do that?
Well, I've had photographers request to sit at a guest table, yes.
I hate that.
I think it's the weirdest thing in the world.
I've occasionally been sat at a guest table, which
even weirder.
It's the worst.
I love when that happens.
No,
not making new friends.
No. Put me in a closet before you put me at a guest table.
I don't want to speak. I don't want to eat with people.
Absolutely
I don't want them to see me eating. I don't want them to know I'm a real person.
How is this possible? Because I normally don't want to talk during the wedding day, and you want to talk to everybody. But when it's the feeding, I'm like, probably with people I don't know. I don't care.
That's different. I'll socialize if well, most people don't socialize with me, to be honest. I have been asked to dance by like a 20-something groomsman. I'm like, I have children half your age. So? Why? I can't dance with you right now.
Oh.
Yeah, it's super awkward.
I don't know. You could totally dance, I feel like.
But, I had to. He asked me so many times.
I dance a woman twice my age at weddings all the time.
Well, that's different.
I've been French kissed by a grandma on a dance floor.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That makes me think of Adam Sandler movies or something.
Oh my God.
No, all right. So that's real. So the food thing is real. The only thing I'll say from the photographer perspective there is if we're going to eat, which I don't always eat, is the only reason I think photographers, I'm assuming, the only reason I'm ever on it is like If the couple's eating, I try and eat as fast as possible. So that way I'm done by the time they're done. Yeah. So that I can get back on photos.
Yeah. No. And I respect that. And I do agree that if you're working with like a newer coordinator or planner, they might not know that. But once you tell them once, if they haven't brought it up.
Just let it go.
Yeah. Just let it go.
Yeah.
And then follow up maybe if you don't ever get food. But, it's...
Yeah. This is
it's funny that's like when you're a single person living with other people and there's always dishes in the sink, It's like, why can't we just do the damn dishes? Yeah. But like this conversation about photographers and like meals, it's just been around the industry forever. It doesn't go away.
Yes,
it won't go away.
It's so funny that it's still a thing.
Away.
Because like for me, I'm like, I don't really care because I'm getting Taco Bell or I'm getting food after the wedding anyway. Christina,
dude, I don't eat fast food.
I don't eat Taco Bell.
No, listen, I don't like the finer things of life.
I love Taco Bell.
But you don't eat it.
But she's a mature adult with standards.
Blah. Keep going. Okay.
Yeah. But like all I'm saying
My
is,
thighs just disagree
I'm getting food anyway. So I'm like, if I don't get fed at a wedding, it's in our contract to get fed. But I'm like, I don't know. Weddings are crazy. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's the client experience that's important.
Yeah.
I just want to. I'll push through for that.
I'll pack a couple bars or whatever.
Yeah, your salts.
My salts.
Yeah.
Cocaine. It's all right. We're having a good time.
We're having a good time. Thanks, Dusty. Yeah. It was a great show last night.
Oh, yeah.
At Zany's.
Shout out to Dusty Slay at Zany's.
He's a comedian.
Great show last night.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't know if this is music.
He walks on stage and always goes, we're having a good time. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you.
How are we doing tonight? Yeah, we're having a good time.
Anyways. I gotta go to more comedy shows. I love comedy shows. I just never go.
Fun. They're great.
How about like a good, like a heartwarming story of you've had as an experience as a planner with a client?
We've made fun of photographers now. I'll give us a good one.
No, and I love photographers.
Not a heartwarming story about a planner and a photographer. I'm not writing a kid's book here.
Okay.
I'm just like, what's an experience you've had as a planner that you've really loved? It's like, this is why you stay in the industry.
That's a good question.
Besides, you need a paycheck. But besides that.
Right. No, I really do love what I do. And I feel so lucky, and I hope you all feel the same. Mm-hmm. Most of my clients, I really genuinely like. And I really, even if we're different kinds of people, like we find our common ground, it's just a beautiful experience and feeling how they feel at the end of the night, that expression. And sometimes it's almost more meaningful because the bride's been with me the whole time and very seldomly is the groom along for the whole ride. Mm-hmm. He's there at the end. But when they're super grateful at the end and they can see what you've done, like it feels so good. Not to be all like, it's about how I feel at the end, but it kind of is. Like,
no, that's real.
I want to make them feel good, and in turn it makes me feel so good. Like it truly warms my heart. And I will say, and she knows this bride of mine from 10 years ago has heard this 1,000 times. For me, she was the most impactful for me because I was pregnant. I didn't, you don't really typically know when you're getting, you might be trying, but you don't know you're going to get pregnant or all the things. And I was due I was due 3 weeks after her wedding.
Oh my God. Wow. Planners are crazy, dude.
But I already had the class. She was there first.
Yeah, I get it.
she was there first.
That's such a funny thing to say. It's so true, though.
Then, actually, excuse me, I was due, whatever, it doesn't matter, right around. I can't remember if it was before or after. Then, my water broke 3 weeks early. The baby came.
Oh, my gosh.
So, the baby came a week before her wedding. And I had to tell her. Because, what was I going to, And she was excited for me.
Yeah.
Aw.
And that's
sweet.
So I had other girls there. I still went. I went for, I think, 6 hours.
To the wedding?
Yeah, for 6 hours.
A week after having a baby?
Yeah, so maybe it was 2 weeks. Maybe it was 2 weeks.
The recommendation, a week after the baby, walk around your bedroom, walk around the house.
You're going
I went. Yeah, I
went. That's
went.
Amazing, Christina.
And
you're a rock star.
Thanks.
Look at you.
Yeah, but I wanted to be there.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I wanted to be there, and I was so grateful for her. And then on our honeymoon, she bought me little baby booties. They were these little African woven. They were beautiful.
Yeah.
And both of my boys wore those. So that was probably the most meaningful because she was okay with it and understanding and trusted me that I was never going to put her in a bad situation. Because not all clients are that kind. And in fact, a different client along my pregnancy whose wedding was supposed to be 6 months later. So the baby would have been, well hatched.
well hatched.
She
in the nest fully.
Actually doubted me. Like when I told her I was pregnant, she's like, so do you think you're going to be able to do this? And I was like, I don't know, doctor, are you going to be able to, after you get married, are you going to be able to still be a doctor? I was like, I had it like, you know, hell or high water. So I was going to accomplish being a mom and a planner. Right. And which I would have done anyway, but it was even more fire in my gut. And therefore I was even more grateful for her. Mm-hmm.
That's great. Yeah. I love that. That's a great story. Yeah. I think like having those moments is great. I think I would say 60% of my brides I still talk to. And I've shot so many weddings at this point.
Do you think more than 7, 8 weddings?
Yeah. But like but I think like that's one of the things that keeps me going is like I'm able to like develop these relationships where like I'm shooting their children. I was
gonna say this is business strategy, you guys.
No, it's not for him. I mean, it is, but it's not.
Like, I'm teasing.
It really is like if I didn't have that social relationship aspect to it, I probably wouldn't do it because weddings are so like a wedding is a wedding is a wedding. Like at some point, every wedding is you can cut and copy. And so, like, what makes it unique is the couple.
Venues do that.
Well, yeah.
What makes it unique is the couple. Like, the routine, as from a photographer standpoint, like, the routine of a wedding at some point becomes pretty much the same. So, like, unless, like, you're building this relationship, for me, is, like, the fact that, like, I'm building these relationships with people that is going to continue on, where I get to, like, see their life change and develop and grow. And, like, I've had multiple couples who live coast to coast fly back to Nashville so I can shoot the maternity sessions and baby announcements and family pictures, like all sorts of stuff. And that to me is like, I'm like, okay, we're doing something cool here.
That is special.
Anyway, we've gone for an hour. You guys.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, do you want to tell people where they can find you online?
Yeah.
Things like that.
They're going to link to me.
We will. Glad you thought of it.
I mean, we will. Yeah. But you saying it helps.
It's, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm confusing. So my website is ChristinaLoganDesign.com. On Instagram, you can find me Christina Logan Events. Just like to keep people on their toes.
Yeah. We actually never say who we work for on here. We just
don't. We're just on occasion.
We did today.
I did today. I have details. I said details. We do the
details.
I don't remember what I was talking about.
You introduce yourself with it.
Sewing Clover
Chris
Photography.
Sewing Clover Photography.
No, I didn't. I just said I'm Chris, but
it's whatever.
It's good enough. Whatever.
Well, fine.
Let's start over.
Okay. Any last words that you want to say before we?
No, I feel like we hit a lot, and I feel like people are going to tune out real soon.
Just pour yourself a drink while you listen, and that'll keep you around.
Yeah.
I love that's the very end when you say that. Okay. Well,
we'll cut it to the front.
Great.
Anyway, thanks for tuning in. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Christina, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
It's awesome having you.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you on the next one, guys.
Okay.
Peace.